Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, today I'm bringing you a summary of the Samsung versus Apple court trial. This is the second trial, and before we get to the second trial, I want to summarize what happened in the first trial, talk about everything that happened in the second trial, and then finally lead you to what's going to happen next. So first of all, in the first trial, there was much going back and forth, and it's still going to be most likely an appeal trial. But essentially, Apple was originally looking for $1 billion of rewards from Samsung. At the end of the day, after a retrial of the original for just the damages portion, they were awarded $290 million. So far cry from what Apple originally wanted, and the first trial only involved phones up to the Epic 4G was the newest one. So essentially, with the S2 in mind was the last one in that one. Now the second trial started off in February of the lawsuit was filed in 2012 and barely got started recently in 2014 of March. So as you can see, these trials do take a long time to start, and this trial involved all the way up to the Galaxy S3. So that was the newest device on the ballot for this. So what happened? Well, Apple was originally looking for $2.2 billion. And Samsung had a couple of things happen. First of all, the judge, Lucy Koh, was the judge for the first trial and the second trial. Now, she has been, as far as being fair, questionable at best, you could say. There was a petition going around to have her impeached from the trial, just because simply she seemed like she was giving Samsung a lot of unfair bias at times. Now, this is uh, it has some merit with certain things, as she awarded Apple a winning patent before the jury could award it. So she awarded Apple prior to it actually being able to be awarded by the jury. So things like that in the second trial, not to mention things that happened in the first trial, have led people to believe certain things. I will let you be the judge for yourself. However, the main important thing is that so Samsung this time around started off with their defense with a Yale professor saying that Apple's patents are only valued at $38.4 million. So this is rather interesting because of the fact that it's not the $2.2 billion that they're asking for. And this definitely stuck in the mind of the jury as we see how it progressed, but that was what it first started off with. Um, then it happened later with Apple wanting money from FaceTime. So this went back and forth a little bit because Samsung also said that they should be owed money, as in they own the patent on compression video. So this went back and forth a little bit between them in the trial, but not so much, as because one thing that helped out a lot was Google took on some of Samsung's burden away from Samsung. So Samsung and Google have signed a 10-year agreement stating that they will be able to use each other's patents and other things in the agreement. We do not know exactly what happened, but they will be helping them out at all times, essentially. Now, why is this important? Well, because it took on some of the patents that Apple was going against Samsung for. And this made a big impact originally because we thought that then Apple would kind of back off. Apple backed off of Google as soon as Google bought Motorola. Motorola owns patents on the cell phone itself pretty much, so Apple will never go to war with Google now that they own all of Motorola's old patents. Because of that, that will never happen, and is one thing that Apple is very concerned with since Google backed up Samsung. And then finally, the patent itself was awarded to Apple in the second trial, but instead of the 2.2 billion they were requesting, they only got 100 and let's say 20 million. It was 119.6, but let's say 120 million, which means out of the two trials, Apple got a little under 450 million, a far cry again of what Apple has been wanting to get. Now, Samsung still was not happy about this. They still don't feel Apple should be awarded anything, and they will still appeal not only the first trial, which has still not gone to the final appeal process, but they will appeal the second trial. Now, is this going to continue? Well, that's an interesting question. First of all, on Apple's first trial, the U.S. Patent Office has thrown out one of the patents that Apple was awarded, which is the pinch to zoom patent that they used against Samsung in the first trial. This has been thrown out, and Apple should receive money on this, which now will obviously be overturned if the trial does go to appeals court, which it should for that. Now, the second thing you have to answer is how can Apple, is this making a lot of sense for Apple to continue this litigation? Because they are paying, obviously, their lawyers a lot of money in order to do this, but at the same time, is it really hurting Samsung as a whole? You have to realize with both of these trials, Apple was only awarded a total, if they get awarded this money at all, only awarded $450 million. Now, while that might sound like a lot, in 2012, Apple gave Samsung $11 billion for parts. So, while that may sound like a lot, really that's like a 10% discount or less, actually. So that's really, it doesn't seem to be affecting Samsung. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure $450 million, no one likes to lose, but when you're getting $11 billion from that company, it's kind of like a discount on the parts. And although Apple's been trying to ditch Samsung, it's made it seem like just for the screens alone that they're trying to get from LG, Sharp, and Sony, they've basically spent a total of $2 billion more just to get it from multiple suppliers, as well as getting things from that. For those of you who don't know, Samsung does make a lot of the parts in Apple products, from screens to the glass to the processor itself. Every Apple processor has been made by Samsung. Now, could this be coming to an end? Of course. You know, Apple's been trying to have a new company called TMSW to be their new chip maker. Now, the problem is that Apple is faced every time is that no one supplies as well as Samsung does. LG, Sharp, and Sony combined have not been able to mass produce at the level that Samsung did for things like screens for Apple. And because of this, they've had to go back to Samsung a lot of the time. Now, will this be able to continue? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. But so far, it doesn't look like Apple has gained much profit from these trials. And it just seems that, of course, as we all know, the patent system has been broken for a while. But will the court system finally do anything about it? And we have seen, of course, in the U.S., it has favored Apple. It is a U.S. company, so obviously that's good. But at the same time, their processing chip is made by Samsung in Dallas, Texas, at a Samsung facility. So it's interesting to see who provides more U.S. jobs, Samsung or Apple. But these are all really interesting questions to see how will it comply. The patent war that Samsung won in one of the middle trials, you could call it, had called for iPhone 4s to be banned in the U.S., but the president actually vetoed that. So it's gone back and forth. They've done about 3 trials that affected the U.S. and many more around the world. So will we keep seeing this? Possibly. Again, this was only up till the S3, so we might see an S4 trial come later on this year or possibly next year. As you can see, it took 2 years just to get these trials started, so we will have to wait and see if they will continue this way, or if they will become quicker, or if they will continue at all. Please let me know what you think of this Samsung Apple trials in around the world. Do you think they make sense? Do you think one side should get more money? Or do you think that instead of litigation, we should just be doing more innovation? Let me know in the comment section down below, and if you found this helpful, please give it a like, thumbs up. Thank you for watching. This has been RSCKY, the Android Guy.